Hi class. This session uh, is mainly dedicated to assignment that I'm giving to you. I'm not teaching a particular chapter. The reason is today is quiz, and I want to teach brief. I keep my teaching brief and give an assignment for coming week, for coming days, or a week until the mid semester. So let me take you to the Blackboard where I have posted the assignment. So this is my Blackboard. Um, this is molecular biotechnology, theory and application, BIO472. You go to the content, and then you scroll down. It says learning activities from March 23rd to April 7th. And in this folder, I have two things. One, a paper on Zika virus, and second, an assignment. So let's open this paper on Zika virus. So this is how the paper looks like, right? It says that the title of the paper is Zika virus protection by a single low dose nucleoside modified mRNA vaccination. The first question arises says that why did I choose this article? I chose this article because right now everyone is talking about vaccines. Some people are clear and some people are making up their minds or trying to do their homework. So regardless, vaccines are proving to be helpful without any or less side effects. So this was one of the first vaccines that was developed against Zika virus. And Zika virus also, when it came, it created a lot of news because it was infecting pregnant ladies, and the young child, the infant who were born they were having some problem with some issues with their brains, size of the brain. So I gave this article to you to read, and so I won't go into the article, but that's for you to read. And it's very simple, very elegant paper. That's how a technology starts. And this is one of the best journals to publish in. This is a Pride, this is Nature. But I won't go into the paper, but I would go into some of the basics, right? So you can say that, if you consider a living organism, so there are bacteria, humans, prokaryotes. In humans, there are various layers of living organisms depending upon the course of evolution. Then there is plant kingdom, so animal kingdom, plant kingdom, which compose eukaryotes. And within eukaryotes, there will be lower eukaryotes with single cell or multicellular eukaryotes like human being. Unicellular eukaryotes can be yeast or algae. Now, one of the most interesting, I would say technically, one of the most interesting particles that exists on this planet are the viruses. And why I say interesting? Because they can be non-living outside the body. But as soon as they get into a cell, now this cell could be a cell of a fungus, it could be a cell of a human, or cell of a monkey. It comes into action. And the action can lead to diseases. Some diseases can be short-lived. Some diseases can be long-lived. For example, earlier on, we were down with polio unless the vaccine came. So the vaccine of polio rescued the whole world. Otherwise, the polio was really very common. And then the smallpox. So smallpox was also, in tropical countries, it was like an epidemic. Again, because of vaccine, we could take control of smallpox. Then your flu, influenza virus that we take, that vaccine that we take every season or every year or every season. And so again, despite vaccine for flu, some people still have flu. Some people have severe flu, some people have less flu. So this is because of immunity. So vaccination or vaccines are agents that increases the immunity. Why does it increase the immunity? To fight the agent. What agent? The agent that causes disease. So what vaccines do actually, technically, is that, so let's say if I draw a graph to make you understand. So let's say this is x-axis and this is y-axis, right? This is x-axis and this is y-axis and this is x-axis. So whenever the first infection happens, right, there will be a slow immunity. And what happens that at this stage, our body makes a special kind of cells called as memory cells. And these memory cells, they live in the lymph node, primarily lymph node. Now, what happens when the infection happens next time? Our immune system reacts very robustly. Why it reacts robustly? Because our body has memory cells, immune cells, which are present in the lymph node, which means that our body is already ready for the battle. So the long story short is that the job of the vaccine is to create memory cells. All right. So that's why we are, so many companies like Pfizer or Moderna or Johnson & Johnson or AstraZeneca, they have invested in vaccines for COVID, to fight COVID infection. But I want to cover basics, as I mentioned. So what are viruses? So viruses, as I mentioned to you, they are agents which are at the borderline of living and non-living, right? If they find a cell to enter, remember I used a word, a cell to enter, means that a virus cannot enter into all the cells. They can enter into specific cells. For example, let's say bacteriophage, right? Bacteriophage can't enter into humans. They can only enter bacteria, right? Bacteriophage. Then adenovirus, they can also infect a particular cells, epithelial cell in human cells, in human body. Human immunodeficiency virus, it primarily infects CD4 cells, which is one of the unit of our immune system, CD4 cells. So virus needs special cells to attach, to get into, right? So, so let's see the overview of virus. Right? So a virus could be a double DNA strand virus, double-stranded DNA virus. It could be a single-stranded DNA virus. It could be a single-strand RNA virus or double-stranded RNA virus. You don't have to know these classifications, but try to understand and appreciate that there are so many types of viruses. And within each subtype, each type, there could be many kinds of viruses that can infect human cells and create a disease. So let's focus on single-strand RNA viruses and double-stranded DNA virus, because they have chances to, all the viruses can change, can mutate depending upon the environment. And one of the primary environment that these viruses have to deal with is the human immune system, right? So the more pressure from immune system, the virus will try to trick the human immune system. And to trick, one of the basic strategies is to mutate. Mutation of what? Change of nucleotides, right? So these RNA viruses, single-stranded or double-stranded, they can create their protein through RNA, and They can create an inflammasome. This term you might not have heard before, inflammasome. So these are few proteins that come together to activate human innate system, right? And activation of human innate system could be balanced to get rid of the virus, or it could be imbalanced that it can create chronic inflammation, as we see in COVID-19, that there is chronic inflammation of lungs to such extent that it can be fatal. It can punch a hole in the lungs. It can create all kind of inflammation. Okay, so right. So let's see a life cycle of a virus through through HIV. So what does HIV do? It infects a particular cell called as CD4 cells. Now, how does it enter? So there is a receptor. I mentioned to you receptors are present on the surface of the virus or any cells that helps as a to shake hands with the human cells, right? So these receptors are present on the surface of the virus that helps to attach to the cell membrane receptor, right? So this phenomena is just like lock and key. There is specific key for every lock. So there is specific, viral receptor for human receptors, and they bind. Once they bind, binding is very important because binding leads to fusion. So virus, if you look at the structure of the virus, they have a envelope. Within the envelope, there is membrane. All these envelope and membrane are derived from human cells itself, because viruses are budding out of human cells. When they bud out of the human cells, they carry human membrane and envelope proteins. So it's not difficult for them to fuse. They have um, all the so the virus membrane and the human membrane could be very similar, may not be exactly similar, but that facilitates the process of fusion, because fusion precedes the entry into the cell, into the cytoplasm. And let's say if HIV is the RNA virus, it goes to the nucleus, where the enzyme reverse transcriptase that we studied in the first or second chapter converts this RNA into cDNA, and this integrates with the help of an enzyme called as integration. And then as human cells divide or not divide, the virus can keep dividing and keep proliferating out of the human cells. So virus has a life cycle, right? And for this life cycle to accomplish, it needs a cell. This cell could be from humans, this cells could be from bacteria, this could be from plants, or so on and so forth, any living organisms. So now coming back to that article, so this Zika virus article I have uploaded on the Blackboard, and I have attached an assignment. I think it is 17 to 18 questions that you have to address. And also, just for knowledge sake, to build knowledge sake, I have also in this assignment I have given a table and questions. This table pertains to various strains of COVID-19, which are prevalent on planet Earth, or in the world, you can say, from United Kingdom, South Africa, and Brazil. You can look at the mutations, and based upon this table, there is 5 to 6 or 6 to 7 questions. So altogether, what I wanted to do in this class is that explain to you the assignment that is given. And I wanted to keep this day a little bit shorter because of the quiz. And so here I stop my recording and wait for your questions.